How heartbreak unlocked my true self. I used to think my whole identity was just being their partner. My world was so tangled up with theirs, I couldn't tell where they ended and I began. Our life was my life, so when they left, it felt like they took everything with them: my future, my worth, my entire identity. I'd look in the mirror and have no idea who I was looking at. And the only thing I knew for sure was that one crushing question: what did I do wrong? This is the story of how I finally stopped trying to answer that question and realized it was the wrong question all along. The before, the great disappearance. For the longest time, the breakup just didn't feel real, you know? It was like one of those nightmares you're trying to claw your way out of. My days were just a blur. The pain was so physical, it felt like my body was literally breaking right along with my heart. And I'm sure many of you know the exact pain I'm talking about. It's that ache deep in your chest that's just always there, a constant heavy reminder of what you've lost. My world, which had been so full of inside jokes and shared dreams, suddenly went quiet. And the silence? It was absolutely deafening. My brain just became this relentless replay machine. I was replaying every single moment, every conversation, looking for that one clue, that one mistake that blew everything up. It was like I was a detective investigating the crime scene of my own life. It was a full-time job, and the boss, my own self-blame, was awful. I'd completely lost myself in the we. My hobbies, they were our hobbies. My plans for the future, they were our plans. So much of my value felt tied to being loved by this one person, so when that was gone, I felt worthless. I was a ghost wandering around in my own life, haunted by a future that wasn't going to happen. The fear of being alone forever didn't feel like a fear. It felt like a fact. I'd look at myself and just see someone who wasn't good enough, and that became the story I told myself, day in and day out. The turning point. I really wish I could tell you there was this one single moment where everything just clicked, a magical sunrise that made it all better, but healing doesn't work like that, does it? It's so much messier. My turning point actually came on a random Tuesday afternoon. It was about 3 months in. I was sitting on my living room floor, surrounded by old takeout boxes, and I hadn't answered a call from a friend in about a week. I caught my reflection in the dark TV screen, and it just hit me. I didn't just see a stranger. I saw someone I was letting down, someone I was abandoning. And in that moment, a new question finally cut through all the noise. What if the big love story I meant to have isn't with someone else, but with myself? I know, it sounds like a cheesy line straight out of a movie, but it was the first thought I'd had in months that wasn't about them. It was the first question that pointed me toward a future instead of a past I couldn't change. I realized I was waiting for an apology that might never come, for a reunion that wasn't happening. And all that waiting was only hurting me, and I decided right there on the floor that my mission wasn't to get them back anymore, it was to get me back. And that was the real beginning, the foundation of healing. The first step was, by far, the hardest. I had to finally give myself permission to just grieve. For so long, I thought being sad meant I was weak, that I should just get over it like everyone says, but you can't heal what you don't let yourself feel. So I let myself cry. I started journaling, writing down all the angry, messy, heartbreaking thoughts I couldn't say out loud. And it's not just me. Research actually shows that writing like this helps you sort through your thoughts and seriously lowers your stress levels. It was exactly what I needed. Next, I had to build a safe space for myself to heal. That meant boundaries. The biggest one? A total digital detox from my ex. That meant no checking their social media. And we all know how tempting that is. No rereading old texts. No asking our friends how they were doing. Every time I looked, it was like picking at a scab. It was never going to heal if I kept doing that. This wasn't about being petty or trying to punish them. It was purely about protecting my own sanity. It was an act of survival. With that space, I started practicing self-compassion. This changed everything. I had to learn to talk to myself like I'd talk to my best friend. When that inner critic started up, I'd consciously stop it and say, "You did the best you could with what you knew. This pain isn't who you are." And the science on this is pretty amazing. Studies show that self-compassion is one of the fastest tracks to recovering from heartbreak because it builds your emotional resilience. It's just about accepting that you're human, you're not perfect, and that you deserve kindness, most importantly, from yourself. The art of rebuilding, once I had that foundation, I could start rebuilding. My entire old routine was built for two people, so I had to build a new one that was just for me, and I started really small, like ridiculously small. I promised myself I'd make my bed every single morning. I started a 10-minute mindfulness practice each day, just focusing on my breath to pull me out of the past and into the present. These tiny goals gave me a little win every day, a sense of control when everything else felt like chaos. Then I started pouring all that leftover energy into my body. I started exercising again, not to get a revenge body or anything like that, but to change my mindset. Moving my body releases endorphins, which are natural mood lifters, and it helped me feel strong again. I started focusing on eating good food and actually getting some sleep. It sounds so basic, I know, but taking care of your physical self is one of the most powerful ways to send a message to your brain that you matter. And finally, I leaned on my people. I had been pushing my friends away, but I realized I didn't have to do this alone. There is so much power in just saying things out loud and having someone tell you that, yes, your pain is valid. And reaching out for professional help, that's not weakness. It's one of the strongest things you can do for yourself. The joy of rediscovery. And this is where things started to get fun. The healing started to feel less like a chore and more like an actual adventure. Suddenly, with all this time and energy that used to be spent obsessing over the past, I had space. A totally blank canvas. I started asking myself questions I hadn't thought about in years. What do I actually like to do? What makes me feel alive? I started picking up old hobbies I'd let go of. I literally picked up a paintbrush for the first time in 10 years. I joined a hiking group and found a love for being outside that I never knew I had. Each new thing I tried was another brick in the foundation of my new identity, an identity that was 100% mine and already whole. This was also where I started to do some deep reflection. And instead of just blaming myself or them, I started asking what I could learn. What patterns do I see in myself? What needs of mine weren't being met? What does this teach me about what I truly want and need in a partner? This turned the breakup from just a sad story into a powerful lesson. It helped me finally see that a relationship ending has nothing to do with my worth. It's really just a chance to get my life back in alignment with who I really am. The after, the unlocked self. So the person I am today? She's not the same one who was crying on the floor a few months ago. But you know what? She's also not the same person who was in that relationship. That heartbreak didn't just break me. It broke me open. It forced me to face my biggest fears, to rebuild my sense of self from the ground up, and to create a life that is unapologetically my own. And this true self isn't some perfect, finished product. She's just more resilient, more compassionate, and fiercely protective of her own peace. I learned that my happiness is an inside job. It can't be outsourced to someone else. The end of that relationship truly felt like the end of the world, but it turned out to be the very thing I needed to build a new one, on a foundation that's so much stronger. So if you're going through it right now, your story does not end here. I know it feels impossible. I know how much it hurts, but I need you to hear me on this. This pain can be the very thing that introduces you to the strongest version of yourself. Your job isn't to erase the pain. It's to use it as fuel. If this story connected with you, maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more conversations about turning our biggest struggles into our greatest strengths. And I would genuinely love to hear from you. Down in the comments, let me know one small thing you're doing to take care of yourself today. Let's build a real community right here. Remember, you're not just healing, you're rebuilding, and you are not alone.
Thank you for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon.